Good morning, LinkedIn. In light of the natural disaster of the hurricane that just swept through Florida, we're getting a lot of questions about backup generators, specifically which type of fuel should we go with. So whether it's a diesel backup generator or natural gas. And since we're a concierge utility and we're consulting on it, we put the right application for the right customer. So we kind of have an interesting perspective on it. And I just thought I'd share that with you today. So when you look at the difference between a natural gas generator and diesel generators, diesel had always had all the market share for backup generators. You look back to 2013 and 28% of the marketplace was natural gas in backup generators. And you fast forward 3 years, 2016, that had jumped up to 38%. And we're seeing those numbers just continue to climb. And with all factors being equal, when we look at an opportunity where it's available, we tend to recommend natural gas as a selection for backup generators. And I'll tell you why in two ways. The first is looking at the actual fuel source. So to really understand it, you have to look back 2005 and 2007. Congress made some changes to the Clean Air Act, and they started requiring diesel to have a biodiesel component. So depending on what that fuel is being used for, had to have a certain percentage of biodiesel mixed in with traditional diesel. That ranges everywhere from B4, which is 4% biodiesel, and then 96% traditional diesel, all the way to B100, which is 100% biodiesel. Now that's had a positive impact on the environment. Biodiesel cuts up to 50% of greenhouse gas over traditional diesel. So that's significant. But there's a downside, and there typically is to every decision. You look at the effect that it's had on the actual performance of the generator, which is why we have it in the first place. It's had a detrimental effect. So there's a couple reasons for that. So biodiesel retains water at a different level than traditional diesel had. So it really holds water and condensation. So that, it causes water to pool up in the generator when it's just sitting there. So it makes maintenance requirements, much more onerous and difficult. And then also, because of the water there, microbe growth is a factor. So as those microbes are growing, they're producing corrosive acids, which you can understand the effect that would have on the actual generator while it's sitting there. So there's some downsides to the move to biodiesel when it comes to looking at just the fuel source. Natural gas obviously is much better on the environment. It's not even a close conversation. Burns cleaner, less of an impact on the environment. And that's why that is the fuel source that the grid as a whole looks at when it is using a baseline fuel. They're not using coal, they're not using diesel, they're using natural gas for all those reasons. So now you step away from just the fuel and you look at availability. So hurricanes make us think about it. How am I going to get a grid drops down, natural disaster hits, or just a weather-related outage that's significant, and trees go down, power lines drop, the grid's down. I have no electricity. Backup generator fires up. Hopefully it fires up if you have a diesel generator. But when it does, I have a limited amount of fuel on site. So I have to get that fuel brought to my facility. With diesel, that's a problem. Trees are down, roads are blocked, roads are washed away. Trucks can't get to you to refuel. So you're only able to run with what you got. And the maximum is typically about 36 hours, which, as you're seeing, in light of what's happening in Florida, that may not be enough. Natural gas, on the other hand, is delivered to your facility as needed through an underground network of pipes. So when the government, and Department of Defense looks at, reliability of fuel sources, they rate natural gas higher because of that infrastructure. So in an event of a seismic activity, the natural gas pipelines underground are rated at about 99.9%, reliable, even with seismic activity happening underground. If there's a tsunami or a localized earthquake, can that infrastructure be impacted? Absolutely. But one of the beauties of the natural gas infrastructure is much like the telecommunications network. It runs all over the place underground. So if there's an impact in one area, that gas can be rerouted to your facility, in most cases, in another direction. So when we look at the fuel source and the impact the fuel has on the generator, and then also the availability of the fuel if there's an extended outage because of something like a natural generator or natural disaster. To us, it's kind of a no-brainer, and we go in the direction of natural gas. So hope that's been helpful. If you'd like more information, we have very intense ebooks written on the topic. Just go to the Exergy Energy LinkedIn homepage, and you'll find resources there. Hope this has been helpful.